Can we drink now?
Yeah, we will see. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Tequila Chats. I am very excited about our amazing guest today. Not only because it took us like 6 months to put this together. This guy is like, I don't know who. It's incredible. But thank you very much for taking the time.
You're
thank you very much
welcome.
for hosting us in your beautiful home. You are Mark's home, so thank you. But if you haven't met Bryan Rafanelli, you haven't been to an amazing event. This guy is a world-renowned event producer, event designer. I've known you for a long time, since before you were
Really?
Mr.
This high?
Rafanelli. Yes, you were that high. I was already. And so, I'm very excited that you're here today. As you know, Tequila Chats is about learning from the best. It's about learning about success, not from the shiny things that we show, because those are, I think, in my opinion, those are, that's just a measurement of what we are doing. But really talk about what goes behind the scenes. I think that people see the end result sometimes, and I think that is great because that it's a source of inspiration. But I do really think that where you learn the most is from the back end of things. You know, all those hardships, all those pivoting points, all those things that make your profession interesting and what you are doing important and got you to the point in which you are right now. So again, thank you for being here.
Okay, can we drink now?
Yes, I know. But as I was mentioning to you, Siete Leguas is the tequila we're going to be featuring today. Say it, Siete Leguas.
Siete leguas.
There we go. That's very good. Yeah, an A in Spanish. It's a great tequila that I love. Come on. No, you can drink. Let me give you a little bit more.
Oh my God.
Just a little bit more. It's a tequila that actually I do like a lot. Small batch tequila. I do like the reposado. If you do the little, like the notes are very citrusy, but it has a nice little vanilla.
So smooth.
It tastes right. It's beautiful. I really do like it. And so
It's like water.
it really is like water. So we'll drink it just as it is. So if you need some more, just make sure that you can go for it. So cheers.
Cheers, my friend.
Cheers, cheers.
Nice to be here.
Thank you again. And so, again, I love the idea of an origin story. I think a lot of people don't know where people come from, but I do think that your origin story really informs what you do in life. And so, do you mind telling us where Bryan Rafanelli comes from? What is that? What is your
Well, I
genesis,
come
your
from
origin?
a small island south of here called Rhode Island.
Oh, I love Rhode Island.
Look, my origins are really coming. What I always love to tell the story about the like most beautiful place of I started volunteering for a nonprofit while I was trying to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up, and fell in love with organizing, graphic design, bringing people together, really making an experience that meant something to this nonprofit to raise money to do good things.
Yeah.
And that's what I did for 2 years as a volunteer until somebody came along and said, we need to pay you to do this. And I was like, oh, people can do this for a career.
Yeah.
And I leaned way into that. And now, 30 years later.
Because you started in 1996, right?
Right.
That was like,
yeah.
Is that 1996, you count those years that you were working with the nonprofits, or 1996 is when the actual Rafanelli events?
I incorporated in 1996 as Rafanelli.
Yeah.
Prior to that, I actually had a partner. We did very small events. Maybe we did 3 or 4 events a year.
Yeah.
I mean, it was fantastic.
I'm
Never
sure,
in the summer.
Considering, yeah.
And then, but then as it grew, so I count that in that because it was part of my growing years. And even that experience, right, of having a business partner, right?
Yes.
I do not have a business partner.
Yes.
I shed myself of that. She was a fantastic person, but I didn't want a business partner. I learned that, right?
Yeah.
So those are all those things that I think are so critical to try.
Yes.
And then, much like a relationship, you decide if it works or not.
And I want to go back to, but let me ask you just a question, just a little bit, go back in time. I heard you talk about your mom, which, by the way, who doesn't love your mom? But you've always mentioned your mom as an inspiration for what you do. You mind sharing?
Look, my mother made like a celebration out of every day. So growing up, 5 kids, and some of the classic stuff, birthdays, anniversaries, Christmas, Easter, those kinds of things. But then also, like I was telling the story the other day of St. Patrick's Day. Like St. Patrick's Day was a huge day in my family. My mother's Irish, my father's Italian. To make fun of my mother.
Yeah.
So humor was a big part of my life growing up. He would put green food coloring in everything that you touched. Like literally in water, in milk, our cereal, our pancakes, our eggs. Like he would go crazy.
Yeah.
And that although I mean, those are fine details now for celebrations. I
Yes,
do.
yes.
Although I've never done a St. Patrick's Day party before.
Yet.
Yeah, but that was really in the fabric of my family.
Yes.
So throwing parties, celebrating, that's what families do. That's what
Yes.
communities do.
Yes.
That wasn't something where I was like sitting back when I attended Syracuse University and I was a political science major. I was in a fraternity. We threw a party every week.
Yeah.
Literally every week. We'd wake up on Monday morning, come up with a theme, design a flyer, post it on campus, go out and get decorations, and throw a party Friday night.
Yeah.
Get wasted, have a blast.
Hey.
Was not drinking tequila then.
Sounds like my house.
But that's like, I did that, and even that, I didn't think to myself, oh, I'm going to start a party company and be successful and have a career.
But as you're doing this, what do you find to be that deeper meaning of celebration of these events?
So that's my next book.
All right.
Why We Celebrate. I'm not kidding.
You really? Oh, I love this.
And
great.
because there is something inherent in everything that we do, not just in America, all over the world. Think back in the Roman times, like we celebrated, always celebrated.
Yeah.
And even to this day, look, we celebrate the amazing things, right?
Yeah.
My niece got into Harvard, we celebrate that. Her wedding, we celebrate that.
Yes.
Funeral.
Yes.
Just lost a friend, went to the most beautiful celebration of life. Like we, as a society or societies, we want to celebrate. In the darkest of times, what did people do? In COVID, in the pandemic, what did you see all over Zoom?
Yeah.
Birthdays, anniversaries.
Yeah,
somebody
nothing
got
can stop it
pregnant.
in some ways. It's to the core of who
After
we are.
9/11, when the market crashed.
Yeah.
What did people do the next day? They didn't cancel their kid's birthday.
Yeah.
They celebrated.
Yeah.
So why do we do that?
Yeah. Because it's in our DNA, right? It's part of it's part of being
I think
human.
we're hopeful.
Yes.
Right?
Yes,
So we're like, let's hope for tomorrow and let's do something really fun.
Yeah.
Because the other
Yes.
might not be as fun.
Because I remember the first event that I attended was yours. Was for the 8th Action Committee. I think it was at the Park Plaza Castle, and I think you hung some motorcycles out of the.
It was called Revolution.
It was. Yes, I remember that. I think
It was
that's
a
what
dance
I
party.
That was '96,
Yeah.
right?
And
I
we
think that was
suspended Harley Davidson to the ceiling.
Yes, that's what it
Oh my
was.
God,
Yes.
it
And I just
insane.
remember that being like the most. It still is one of the most incredible things that I've seen.
Wow. I gotta pull that one out again.
Oh, you have to, yeah. Well, I just gave it
Maybe
up.
suspend an ice cream truck or something. But
No, but I do remember that so vividly. It was such an incredible kind of like life experience in some ways. For me to remember this now almost 30 years later and remember it so vividly, I think it speaks to what you were talking about.
Okay, one of my rules in my book, I have these Rafanelli rules, but one of them is to think big, right?
Yeah.
So this idea of like the motorcycles were so like it took your breath away. Like it was a wow. It was something you would never expect, right? You came in and you saw these motorcycles suspended, and what we're not describing is like these giant metal ramps that it looked like the motorcycles were flying across. And everyone was dancing underneath those, right?
Yeah.
So that kind of unexpected spectacle, people love that. That's what they want.
From your creative process, where does the production of an event, the design of an event start? What is like the beginning, the genesis of an event in your experience?
Well, the mechanics of it are really, who, what, why, when, place, time, season. That's where we start as a baseline.
Yeah.
But then it is leaning into like, what are we really trying to do here? I always like to say, okay, on Sunday morning after the event, on Saturday night or whatever day of the week, you wake up, how do you want to feel? What do you want to remember?
Yeah.
What do you want people talking about?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that's different for different people.
Yes, of
right?
course.
It could be the band, it could be the crazy flowers, it
Yeah.
could be the motorcycles flying in the air,
Yeah.
or it could be the way you felt. Like you were like, I was just part of something last night that is going to change the trajectory of a nonprofit,
Yes.
or is going to give my 13-year-old daughter the confidence that she needs to go to school
Yeah.
and feel special, like
Yeah.
her life has changed.
Yeah. And let me go back now to 1996 and that very specific event and to, that whole 8th Action Committee situation. And again, as you said, you started a lot of your business doing that nonprofit work. I would tell you, for me, the '90s are a mixed emotion because obviously that's when I was very young, and so I have this, this, of course, the youthful relationship to it, right? But at the same time, I think for us in our generation, it's such a time of loss. We lost such many incredible people
Right.
to HIV and AIDS. Leo, just to mention one, and the list really goes on and on and on. And tell me if this is just too personal. You don't have to answer this, but do you feel that much loss so early in your life can like inform your desire for celebration, inform your desire for making
what
life
it
more
did
beautiful?
do, it actually, in real time, sort of this terrible thing happens, right? So your friend who's so young passes away, and clearly you're shocked by it, and even sort of putting. So he's 32, and you're like, wait a minute, people don't die at 32, right? So there's that piece of the puzzle, but then you say, okay, what do I do with this? So actually, Larry Kessler, who's the executive director of AIDS Action, was one of the 9 founders of it. Just passed away last week,
Did, yes.
right? And so very interesting for me of understanding that this man came to me and said, you should turn your grief into action, right? And so I was like, Now I was going to his house every night for like 3 weeks, and I was with his family, and I was bringing all this food to the hospital, and like hanging a painting in his room in the hospital, like making it, doing everything I could to say, how can I make Leo more comfortable? How can I make his short life more interesting, right? I did all that. That was a lot of energy.
I remember that. That was
so
really
now
big.
Larry's like, okay, dude, now you got to do something with like that.
Yeah.
You have to do something with it. And so in the strangest way, I don't know how this sounds, it's like, every action has a reaction. And so for me, the reaction was, I need to do something about this.
Yes.
I can't go wallow and say, oh, woe is me, and I might die, my friends might die. I had to be part of something and say, I want to do something. I want to harness all this energy, and I want to throw it into something that's actually going to make a difference. Now, getting that close to something like that, some like Dancing in Time or a walkathon or an event that raises $1 million, like there's it's an elixir.
Yes.
It can become a little bit of an addiction.
Yes.
In a really good way.
Yes, of course.
So if you're addicted to change, like making change.
Yes.
Like for me, like that's what I seek out every single time I take a new project.
Yeah.
I want that, right?
Yes.
I want purpose in it, and not just in raising money for cancer research, right? It's not just that. It's just to say, I want it to have a purpose. So again, the crowd, the group, they like, okay, this is different. Yeah, this is good. I can feel good. I want to bottle this up, and I want to move on, and maybe do it yourself.
Yes, and what that celebration means to those people, and how it really could change their lives. It could change
and it's
the way
not
that
just
they
a
see
party is a party is a party.
No.
Okay, so in your business, like you've been a master, right, of like saying, I just don't sell houses. Yeah. Right. So I think you're selling is you're selling a dream. You're selling like I see my life here, and for however long that may be. Yes. And in mine, it's 5 hours.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
I'm like, come and do this for 5 hours. Yes. Bring all your family and your friend, or all. We just did the Kansas City Chiefs ring ceremony last year. They won a Super Bowl. Yeah. They worked really hard for that.
Yes, they did.
Even though it was their 4th, and now they won their 5th. But it's this idea of like, they worked really hard, and so now we're going to celebrate. And in this one moment, we're going to say, hell yeah. Yeah. We are like king of the world. Yes. Like that's what it's about.
That's
not just something that you see on television. Yeah. Right? That's life.
Yeah, that is. So now you were talking about in 1996 when you started, you said you had a partner. What lesson did you learn from, and she was wondering, what lesson did you learn from that relationship that has informed how the rest of your business, the direction of the rest of your business?
For me, the interesting thing about a business partner is you can have different skills, right? You can have different styles, but do you believe in the same thing, right? So your success inside your office and everybody who works for you is that you're looking at the win. Yes. You're like, we're all on this together, right? Now, if suddenly one of you does not agree with that, then what do you do? Yeah. Right? Yeah. Do you tolerate it? I mean, many people do.
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah. But nothing really comes out of that in the long term. Not certainly where
Well,
you want to be.
It's a complicated relationship,
Yes, it is.
right?
I have the same thing with my team. Like we have to like share not only that vision, we have to share ethos and culture, and it becomes very evident at some point who's not going to be able to be part of that, and it's okay. If they're not part of that, it's absolutely okay. But what I've discovered is that is, at least in my experience with my team, is that it is, imperative that there is that alignment. And I think that those who align thrive. And then if they thrive, we all thrive. And it's something really interesting about that.
Now, so if we go back to where I started, there was like 50 volunteers in a room planning a pledge event, and everybody difference of opinion, and so you had to bring everybody together, get consensus, get everyone to get as excited as you are, and everybody needs to be to build this thing, to raise the money, to produce this day. That doesn't mean there's not conflict. That doesn't mean it's not complicated.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, everyone had their eye on this one thing.
Yeah, that's
being successful in this way.
Yeah.
And so early on, I really, really, really understood that. Like I said, oh, this makes total sense.
But from the creative point of view, because you have all these people that are advising, ultimately, I think that you kind of like you own that vision in I'm assuming, tell me if I'm wrong, you own the vision in behalf of the client, let's say when you're planning this event. How do you manage all those creative elements? Because everybody has different points of view and everybody has different ideas as to what should happen, should not happen.
My belief in my business is that the operation side, the process side, has to actually be better than the creative genius, crazy ideas.
Tell us why.
Because anybody can create something, a spectacle, but if the spectacle is not produced well, it doesn't operate well, it's not surfaced well, then eventually that will just crumble.
Yeah.
And you'll just have this motorcycle that might fall down.
Yes,
right?
It was beautiful for a second
saying,
until
okay, if we follow this process, if we all agree this is a good process, this process works, and of course there are debriefs, and of course we make adjustments over time, but if we follow this process, then all of a sudden there's room.
Yeah.
There's room for when some crazy thing happens. When the wedding cake starts to tip to the left in the beginning of the party, we can fix that.
Yeah. Because
but we can't fix that if also the sound is going out, also the flowers didn't get delivered on time, also the power went out in the kitchen, right? So the operation has to be like a military operation.
Yeah.
And the other thing I would tell you is that so it opens up this. I have so many times had everything locked down to the last second, right? And then something crazy happens, but it opens usually up to something really fantastic. That's what I love that.
Yeah.
Like nothing makes me happier.
Yeah.
Like it's like all of a sudden we have room, we have time, we can react, we can do something even better. We can think of a big idea on site. Like I call it action designing. Like if we have time to action design.
But let me ask you, where you are right now in terms of your business, what do you think is the most important decision that you made in order to create that infrastructure? Because there's an infrastructure that goes into play, right?
Organization, but I often say I have a really short attention span.
Yeah.
So I've always admitted that. That wasn't something that, I got tested for.
Yeah.
So I leaned into it. I'm like, okay, I'm going to build this, and then I'm going to be like, zoom. Right, and then I'm going to tell you, go do it.
Yeah.
So I feel like every person in my company is really like a young entrepreneur, like because they're always like, Bryan, what should I do? I'm like, no.
Yeah.
Like I can't replicate, right?
Yes.
If I have to answer all those questions every single time. Every business person knows that, right? So you have to train and teach and believe and trust that if you give them all the tools, that they will 90% of the time follow those.
Yeah. I've discovered that with my team in the past couple of years, in the sense that I realized that building that strong infrastructure allows me to do what I'm best at. And that allows the agents also to kind of like flourish in the best ways possible, based on their own skill base. And so, this really resonates with me in that sense. It's true.
If you micromanage the product, you own the product.
Yeah. But yeah.
And for me, it's not about like going out and playing golf or going on
No.
vacation, right?
No.
For me, it's to work on the next thing.
Yeah.
Or I heard you say it, so to do what I want to do. Right?
What I'm
So
best
that
at
what
doing.
I
Yes.
well, sure, that perfect combination of saying,
Yeah.
what do you do really? I'm great at clients. I love my clients.
Yes,
I love
yes.
to present. I love to sell.
Yeah.
And I'm the creative director of my company and the CEO.
Yeah.
But I love to create. I love those big ideas. But I have this monster design team that comes and presents to me, and I get to be like, what if we did this or what if we did that? But they're still going to go away. They're still going to build it. It's going to happen. And I will make a couple adjustments. But I've learned after all this time that if I made no adjustments, it would be great.
Yes. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
I
Because
trust
you're
that I
surrounded
built
by the
this.
by the people that know exactly
Absolutely.
how they want it to be. Yes.
The other thing I was going to tell you, I come from a family of lawyers, right? So everything's about making a case. So when somebody has a great idea, okay, so now how are we going to do it? Why are we doing it?
Yeah.
What does it really mean? How much does it cost? How are you showing value? Like all of these measures,
Yeah.
if you're thinking about that, then yeah, that's a great idea, or that's a really good idea.
I love that.
It's just never going to work.
I love that. Bethany, are you taking notes right now? We're talking tomorrow to the team about this whole stuff. We have a script now. So now, in terms of, again, building the business that you have right now, is there anything that in retrospect you would have done differently than what you are right now?
Oh God, that's a really good question.
Only one.
So I have this like mantra. I don't know what you call it. I don't think it's an affirmation, but it's like so much wasted time, right? So if I could do anything differently, it's just not like overthinking.
Yeah.
You know, like should I go to that? Should I not go to that? Should I fire that client? Should I not fire that client?
Yeah.
I really want to work with this company, but I can't afford it. Like I'm much better at like split decisions now, like fast ones.
Yeah.
Versus in the past, I took so much time worrying, right? What if?
Yeah.
And that takes up a lot of joy.
Yeah,
Like
it does.
Eats
Yes,
at it,
yes,
right?
it really does.
Because you're concerned, or you're always like, ugh. Now I do think it's part of the secret sauce,
Yeah.
but I don't think it. I just really intentionally try not to worry as much as I did before.
Yeah.
Right, and not waste all of this time.
Huh.
Make a decision, live with decision, move on.
Let it be.
Right.
Yes,
And
yeah.
now, look, I still every day I I did something yesterday. I woke up this morning. I'm like, should I really have done that? But I'm like, why are you thinking about yesterday?
Yeah.
Because I can't change yesterday.
Yeah.
Right. But what I can change is today. I can stop thinking about it and just deal with the consequences of the decision that I made.
Yeah.
That's one of those pieces that and I don't know exactly how you, because I often say experience is life's best teacher.
Yes.
So how much experience do you have to have in torturing yourself with every decision?
No, I think that's no.
Before
Yes.
you break
Yeah.
and you say, I can't do this.
Yeah, yeah. I do share that with you. And for me, the realization was more around kind of like efficiency. I don't know, like I realized that I needed to make my business and my life more efficient. And that was the genesis of that. Because I realized I was spending all this time in endless process, in endless conversations. And sometimes, by the way, there's space for that. Sometimes some conversations has to be cumbersome and long, but not everything has to be that way. And it was just this realization of, I need to make this more efficient because of everything that is being invested into it, from resources like money, but also time and expertise. And
Time.
all of the
all
stuff,
you have
yes.
is time.
Yeah, that's all we have.
So I bill by the hour.
Yeah.
Right. So if you look at that, you're like, okay, I for offering value to the client, I can't bill 24 hours a day. Right.
Yeah.
So that doesn't make any sense. But all we really have is time. And if you start to look at like I will not allow a meeting to go more than 60 minutes. Right. So everyone's like, how can you do that? Well, because like I have a really short attention span, number one.
Yeah.
But number two, it's too much information.
Yeah, if you can resolve something.
So
in that, yeah.
what if we narrowed it down? What if we did what we do in 60 minutes in 30 minutes? Like,
Yeah.
it's possible. It's absolutely
Yeah, yes.
possible.
Yeah, yeah.
And the more you work with highly successful people,
Time
they
is the
don't
most
have a lot
important
of
thing.
time.
Yes, exactly.
So you learn from
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
So all my clients have taught me, because they're wildly successful, and I watch them so closely of like trying to figure out, how do they do all this? How do they make all this happen?
Yeah.
And a lot of it is just time management and
Yes.
really thoughtful and
Yeah, and
holding
everything.
a line.
It's like a clockwork. Everything
Yeah.
is just absolutely perfect. Yeah.
Yeah, including your family, right? Including your
Yes.
friends, and like I love to be alone, right?
Yeah.
So I've also learned to preserve that and be like, yeah, I don't want anyone around
Yeah.
me.
Yeah.
I love people, but
Yeah.
not all day.
Yeah. So your clients, when you started really getting deep into the business, when you realized this business actually clicking, what would you consider was that first tipping point for you? Is that something that you identified as that moment in which you were like, okay, this clicked. This is really going to happen. Understanding that it's going to continue to have iterations, right? It's going to continue to change, and it will continue to change until you don't do it any longer. But is there one moment in which you realize this is my tipping point?
Well, I mean, I've had a lot of tipping points.
Yeah. How do you know? But how
And
do you feel? How do you know you're at a tipping point? So let me ask, how do you feel you're at a tipping point?
Something presents itself, and you're like, well, can you do my daughter's wedding in Istanbul?
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah,
Absolutely.
I can
By the
do
way, that was a
that.
gorgeous wedding. Yeah.
Right. It's in my book. It's a beautiful wedding.
Yeah.
But like, I never worked in Istanbul
Yeah.
before.
Yeah.
Right. So it was definitely a tipping point. And even when people, I mean, I've laid out 5 beautiful events in my book, and you look at it, I can't even believe it. I look at it, and I'm like, oh my God, how did we do
this come together?
right?
Yeah.
But I remember, like, when that was all over and I was sitting on a beach in Turkey, I was like, holy moly.
Yeah.
Like, this is significant.
Yes.
And not tomorrow, but at 6 months from now, a year from now,
Yeah.
4 years later when I put it in my book,
Yeah.
it was like, you guys can
It's
do
a full
that.
shift on how you are doing your
Sure.
things. Yes.
And
Yeah.
it made, those were the points where, like, can I do an event in Chicago? Can I do an event in Napa?
Yeah.
Can I do an event in Aspen? Hell yeah.
Absolutely.
I did an event in Istanbul.
Yeah, exactly. If you can do that one, yes, I can do Aspen. No, I totally get it. I am going right now, the same way as you, I identified all these tipping points in my business. I was talking to Jade Mills a couple of weeks ago about this, and I feel like right now I'm in that tipping point as well. The interesting thing is I don't know to your point, I don't know what it is, but it is definitely a tipping point. I don't know exactly what it means, but I know it means something important, and I know it means something significant. And so right now I'm like getting ready for the clarity as to what it is going to be. But it's really an interesting process, I think. I really think it's an interesting process.
I'm a big believer in like going with your gut, like right, that you're like, I'm over-resourced, so meaning we don't have as many projects as I have employees. So what do I do about that?
Yeah.
Right. And so you have to decide because you're crushed. You're like pushed against the wall. You have to make a decision.
Yeah.
And it's a hard decision to make, right? But then I had one of like the wisest business advisors in the world say, well, hey, Bryan, sometimes you have to get smaller to get bigger again.
Yeah.
Look what the pandemic
Yes,
did.
it's true. Yes, it is.
Like now I'm 30% larger than I
Yeah.
was before pre-pandemic.
Yeah.
Well, how did that happen? So you have to like, I think those are those moments. And if you can acknowledge it, yeah, this is a moment.
Yeah.
This is a moment. Deep breath, lean in.
Look at it,
Trust.
see where it is. Yes, exactly. And follow your instinct like you were saying.
Totally. And look, I will finish with like failure. So I was never really afraid of failure. I was worried about it.
Yeah.
Right? Because I'm only as good as my last event. I don't care what anybody says. So you know what I've done. So the idea of like saying, okay, this was successful, but sometimes not everything's successful.
Yeah.
I have failed. We have made mistakes.
Yeah.
But those were things that we could analyze really quickly, or I could internally when I didn't have a big company and just be like, yeah, I don't want to do that again.
Yeah. No, it becomes part of your process.
Yeah.
It's not
And
only
you're
lessons
like,
learned, but
this
it's
doesn't feel good. I don't want to do that again.
It changes it changes the spirit of what you are doing as well. Yeah, it does. So now you have certainly an impressive list of incredible clients all over the world. We were discussing Istanbul, but I do think something that is amazing about what you've been able to accomplish is your relationship. And I would say this, I don't know how to put it, but it's your relationship. You worked for 3 presidents. Then, like, how amazing! Like, seriously, how do you feel about this? It's kind of like a crazy thing to really kind of like comprehend.
Yeah, look. Every time I go to the White House and go through the East Wing, it feels like the first time. So every time I go into a 20,000 square foot client's house in Aspen or Palm Beach or Napa, they're beautiful, but it doesn't feel like the first time.
Yeah. Yeah.
So there is something remarkable, history making, that I definitely say, okay, this is bigger than anything that I've ever experienced before. When I did the president's granddaughter's wedding at the White House, I knew it in real time. I was like, the pressure of doing that was huge because I was like, history's eyes are on this.
Yes.
Now,
By the
look,
way,
I'm not trying to blow it up to more than it is, but I know for sure that 50 years from now or 75 years from now, when another president's daughter or granddaughter gets married at the White House, they're going to go back and look at that wedding.
Yeah.
And I happen to have a bride who was, fantastically classic and loved history and wanted to celebrate and honor the house. And that's what I wanted to do because I really wanted somebody to look back on those images and say, when was this?
Yeah.
It feels like today. It feels like tomorrow. Those moments are gold. Like for me personally, they're really, really important.
But what do you think is the significance of those events within the White House? Obviously it's fantastic, but do you feel that there is a meaning beyond them? They seem to be.
Well, look, design and diplomacy. As much as most people hate politics, there is a messaging inside of everything, and so for you to have a state dinner at the White House, for your granddaughter to get married at the White House, even to go to the Easter egg roll at the White House, like these are significant moments, and they have history and they have meaning.
Yeah.
And you can't take that away. And they actually, people feel gratitude and respect. And I have done all of this, and I was invited by the president to do X on this day.
Yeah.
Yes, it is a very different day than the day before or the day after.
Yes, of course, yeah.
And, again, politics aside, parties aside, I believe it's still, what gets better than that in that space?
That diplomatic role of those events and the importance of those, not only for the individuals that are celebrating, for the nation, what they mean to the nation, I think is really interesting. Do you have any favorite moment from your different experiences with the White House? You don't have to share. I will tell you which one is my favorite one. But you tell me first. You tell me first. Maybe we match.
No. Go ahead. Tell me.
I loved when gay marriage became the law. And you.
That
one, yes, that one.
Are you putting photos underneath all this stuff?
And you got the White House to be lit.
In the rainbow.
In the rainbow.
Yeah.
That to me was so. I cried. I thought I was so proud of you. I was so proud to be your friend. It was just so beautiful. It was, by the way, the simplicity of that. I also think that the generosity, of president to open house for that to happen was really significant.
Look, a remarkable moment. Really crazy, madcap situation of like making that really happen behind the scenes. But then it did happen, and I remember. Because I was inside the gate. I'm inside on the front lawn of the White House under the North Portico, and we're watching the lights, come up as the sun was going down. But then all the crowds started to form, and I remember leaving and going through the gates, and I was like, I didn't want to. Like, I wanted to stay inside. But then I got outside, and there's thousands of people looking at this. This sort of emblem, and that was the moment.
Yeah,
that's when I was like, that's not like writing. Not that there's anything wrong with lighting skyscrapers up in pink for breast cancer, but there was like this moment. Like I'm looking at it, I'm like, this is history.
It signifies that.
And then when it started to flood all over the world, then I'm like, holy moly!
It is. It's really the representation of that event.
A small part of that. And the best part of the story is really, I'd actually helped with a lot of different things at the White House. And then they were like, we have this idea, what do you think? And like totally was trusted to make that happen, right? I mean, we spent weeks testing the colors on the White House at night. Yeah. Nobody knew this, but like on Tuesday it was blue, on Wednesday it was orange, so all that was so good. And I felt good too. I felt good to be a small part of something that President Obama and the First Lady and his whole administration have worked so hard to win. Yeah. And then we, in one moment, got to celebrate it in the most awesome way.
Yeah. It was beautiful. It really, really, really was beautiful. So what is your favorite moment in the White House? Well, I have to give you more tequila.
Yeah, it really is.
Look,
I have had, I think the challenge for me for the White House is that each experience is so remarkable and incredible. I did the state dinner for Korea, and I was walking downstairs to the lower cross hallway, and this woman like grabbed my arm from behind me and said, "Could you help me?" And I walked her down the stairs, and it turned out to be Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
Oh my gosh.
And she said to me, "I've been in this house a number of times, but I've never seen it look like this."
Oh, but
tonight."
that's incredible.
No, she was just
Yep,
a
it's
person
incredible.
walking down the stairs talking to a stranger.
Yeah.
She had no idea that we had designed that.
Yeah.
Or that we were a part
Oh,
of
so
it
she
at all.
didn't know that you had this. Oh, I love that's even better. That's
She
incredible.
just needed help down the stairs. And I was like, I just like
Yeah.
couldn't believe it.
Ah,
Like,
that's
you know,
amazing.
because it hit a couple chords, right? This icon, but then she who had certainly been in that house hundreds of times, right? So for her to react like that in real time and me being there,
That's amazing.
and her
That really
not
is
knowing
incredible.
who I was,
Yeah.
that was
That is
magic.
incredible. That really is. That really is magic,
Magic.
for sure. So it's okay. Again, you don't have to answer this, but let me contextualize my question. As you know, I went to, which by the way, the White House for Christmas was absolutely amazing. It was just so gorgeous. It was just so. It really was very beautiful. Went to one of the holiday parties there. And after I posted this little video, I got all these calls from colleagues saying like, "Are you afraid of posting things in the White House?" I'm like, I went to a holiday. First of all, I just went to a holiday party. It's not like I was, waving flags for anybody in particular. I was at a holiday party, which was beautiful and is one of the most, my favorite moments in my life. Your business, and so I'm just trying to figure out how to ask this. And so it seems to me
Am I
that
afraid to be a Democrat?
no. But is there? Have you ever felt that your political affiliation fights against your business? That there is a
No.
because there is a. By the way, there's a fear in business about being political because people feel afraid that they're going to upset.
This
somebody.
is what I know for sure.
Tell me everything.
I have built a great company. We do great work.
Yeah.
If you want to work with that company, if that's a product you want to have, then you will buy that product.
Yep. Yeah.
So my believing in democracy, supporting the Democratic Party, leaning in for, 2 decades now, being part of our system to elect people that I believe in that will bring about the change that I believe in. That's what I'm going to do that. And that if you choose not to hire me because I do that, then you shouldn't hire me.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
You
a
could work with
fact,
somebody else.
right?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
But I was about to say I do work in Massachusetts, but I do work everywhere. If you just Google my name, what pops up, right?
Yeah.
So it hasn't affected my business at all, nor do I think it should.
Yeah.
Now look, I work for like 2 assholes a year, right?
We all
I
do.
have like 100 clients a year,
Yeah.
and I have 2. All right.
Yeah.
Now I'm not going to say what their party affiliation is.
Yeah.
They're just assholes, right?
Yeah.
The rest are amazing. So my point is like that anything can happen, but that water seeks its own level.
Yeah.
And I think that people who understand and respect what I am doing and believe in, that's all it is. So they're not saying, right? They're not like we did the Kansas City Chiefs ring ceremony. So are all the Patriots supposed to be upset with us?
Yeah.
God,
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
nuts.
No,
to
that's
me.
it. That's the right way.
And
the
that's
right way
not
to look
just
at it.
like, so it's, your question is twofold in a way. It's like, yeah, I produce all of these events at the White House, right? And I also support that party.
Yeah.
I do both.
Yeah, yeah. But like you were saying, it's the people that are going to work with you are the people that are going to work with you regardless of that affiliation.
Right.
Because all we have, otherwise we won't be able to work with anybody. Because everybody has some sort of affiliation of
Look,
of someone.
I hope, that that's not where the world goes. That we can only use Democratic suppliers and
Yeah.
they can only use Republicans.
that would be
nuts.
no,
It
that's
won't
impossible,
the world
yeah.
won't function.
it really is.
Half the shit in this house is from China.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah.
Allegedly, we
totally.
don't like them.
Yeah. Well, no, I know exactly what you were saying. So wait, I think I've taken too much time. I think I made you drink too much
I think
tequila.
I've had a lot of tequila.
No, you have a dinner like at 6:30, or that's what they told us. You had a dinner at
I'm
6:30.
going to be like all sparkly.
Yeah, that's great.
And then
You're welcome.
Then I'm going to faint.
But let's talk about you. You have a book right now out, A Great Party, which, by the way, I absolutely love. When does the new book come out?
The new book is like in book proposal, so you're not
Okay.
going to see it.
Okay,
for a
well,
while.
you have
'Cause
to
I
give
might
us-
actually what I'm
But
doing
you
right
heard it
now
here
is asking
first.
the question. You know,
Yeah.
like I really want to understand why people celebrate and what their answer is.
Okay.
So
Okay, well.
because I don't have the answer,
Okay.
I'm seeking it.
Alrighty, maybe I'll send you a couple of thoughts.
But yes, I don't think A Great Party has.
I love A Great Party.
I think
by
it's
the way.
timeless. So
Yeah, it is beautiful. It's a beautiful book. And we'll do, Billy, can we do a little shot of the book later? Okay, great.
Oh, it's
Because
right over there.
You have it right there? Bethany, can we have it? It's like right there. But as we get the book, and this is always last question on this conversation, and as you look at your business, what you have accomplished, what do you think is the key to success?
Drinking tequila, clearly. My God, you know what? There isn't one key to success. Like, it's so many of the things that we talked about, right? Of like, you know, success is all about working hard.
Okay.
You know, some people say right time, right place. Sure, a little bit,
Yeah.
but it's actually hard work.
Yeah. Plain
I
and simple.
just don't know anyone who's successful who doesn't work hard.
Yeah. It is really that simple.
I don't.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. It is that simple.
And so I just, that seems like such a fantasy to me that somehow you can invest in X and become a billionaire.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, but
Yeah.
that's not the kind of success
Absolutely.
I'm looking for or have achieved.
Yeah. I was, you know, in the wisdom that you find on Instagram, I saw this little, whatever you call those little squares that did
Yeah.
something. I noticed that the harder I work, the luckier I get. And I was like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. But it's to your point. It's you know, simply
Sure.
put, hard work. It is. Whatever it means to you is hard work. And whatever form it takes is always hard work. And that's been a consistent with everybody that we talk to. You know, it's always about that. It's always about that. And nobody works harder than you.
Nah.
And nobody produces more beautiful events than you.
Oh.
And I'm very, very, very happy. No, you know, I'm very, very happy that, you know, and very proud to call you a friend, to you and Mark, and I appreciate your time today. But let's show the book. Bethany, come here. Yeah, that's the one. Let's see. I love it. And go on buy it right now. But again, Bryan, thank you very much. I really appreciate it. Mwah. Thank you. And guys, we'll see you next week. Salud. Cheers.
Cheers.